Welcome to this semi-finals for bracket 3 in the Dual Domination tournament. Really looking to casting this one. We're down to the semi-finals. This is the main event. All of these teams have had interesting journeys to get where they are. However, I haven't even cast Handed Swordsman before. Didn't cast the group stage for bracket 3, but they were first in their group, so they went straight on to semis. Coordinated collapse, had to go through the quarterfinal phase, which they won against Start the Game already, and won quite convincingly actually. They looked very sharp and on top of their game. I think the players being Swedish Goblin, and Captain Cook. Whereas on Handed Swordsman we have Dral and Black Lima. So two players I haven't cast before in any kind of format. So completely new players to me. Looking forward to seeing what they get up to. And we have the draft. So Pacific Islands is the neutral map. So that's the map we are going to see first off. Because it was the map that wasn't picked or banned during the drafting phase. And Coordinated Collapse has picked Copenhagen and Morass. And if I remember correctly, which, you know, relying upon my memory is, you're always talking about a risky game, but I think this is very similar to what they had picked in their previous round. I know they've had a very good game on Copenhagen. Again, memories. I think they played Italians. So maybe we'll see Italians again. But again, memory is a little bit all over the place, but I think that's how I remember it. Handed Swordsman, on the other hand, they've got Slopes and Bay. Bay's a little bit off the screen there, but that's the one with a little bit of water at the bottom and expansion out to the rest of the map. And maybe I'll start with Handed Swordsman in terms of the map, because I can see Tatars on the screen. And Tatars are great on slopes. Just because of the elevation, you can really take advantage of the elevation bonus, or that's what the theory is. Maybe I haven't actually seen it play out that way, but the theory is you can take advantage of the high edges of that map. Vikings, I think, is going to be seen on Pacific Islands. It's a great civ on that map. And then it might be a little bit of a crapshoot from there. We've got infantry civ and the Goths. We've got Hindustanis, good all-around civ, but good cavalry counter civ. Ethiopians, archers, Byzantines, you know, counter units, Malians, a good cav civ. So they've given themselves a lot of flexibility there, I think. But, you know, maybe Malians on Bay, because you kind of pay less wood for things, so you can kind of get a dock and fishing ships up quite early. But you might also see Byzantines there with the decent fire galleys. I can see a lot of these civs played on a lot of these maps. For Coordinated Collapse, I would expect Armenians and Italians in the pool for Pacific Islands. I might even think Armenians for Pacific Islands because of how good their galleys are and how good the mule cart is. You can move it from woodline to woodline on your home island. I think that's a really good bonus to have. I'm thinking Burgundians for Copenhagen because it's, you know, a closed map to some extent. Obviously, you've got the water there still, so it's a closed hybrid map. Or you could see Khmer there. They obviously have a great economy behind walls. is a good civ. You could even say Cumans because of the double TC, so lots of options for Copenhagen. Chinese, actually have not seen for quite some time. I can't quite remember if they were in the patch changes. If they are in the patch changes, and this was before the patch came out, the series was played. Hopefully we can see that game, but I'm not sure about that. Saracens, I just hate Saracens. Sorry, coordinated collapse is just my least favorite civ. So my brain kind of goes to I don't even care what they're played on. Obviously, they've got great camels, so they're good cav countering civ. But yeah, Morass and Bay and Slopes. I like Handed Swordsman's flexible draft a bit better. I'm having trouble putting my mind into this draft on these maps for whatever reason. So we'll see. There's no Huns for Slopes or Magyars or like any kind of out of the box strategy that I'm kind of thinking of. Maybe we'll see something with the medians where they do some kind of long sword rush that fits one of these maps, but I'm not seeing it currently. But yeah, let's get on to the map, or the match. So here we are, make sure that I'm all set up correctly. And away we go. So this is game 1 of the semi-finals of bracket 3. We've got coordinated collapse in the orange. I always play as orange, so I love this for them. Makes me root for them that little bit more. And then the Italians, great on this map. Handed Swordsman have also picked a great civ in the Vikings, with their naval bonuses and the long boat in the mid to late game. So I think they're going to do pretty well. So it's a good matchup. You always want to start off with a good matchup. And we have that. Scout is already scouting the main island for Handed Swordsman. Scout is on the other island for coordinated collapse. So love to see the use of the transport ship and the scouts for scouting early on, and we are scouting our home islands with our water buffalo. And we're on stragglers, but here we go. Here's finding the perfect wood line. Love that. Oh, actually, this is always funny when the opposition scouts your home island. They're obviously looking for that water buffalo. And sometimes you're able to get away with it because, as we've just seen, the water buffalo go around the island to scout. But in terms of what we have scouted, we've already scouted out all of our home island. Unfortunately, these water buffalo aren't close to the town centre, so they could be found. However, he has missed them. But Blaish says, best of luck to my dear fellows. So good sportsmanship there. Also looking for this dock and maybe even trying to snipe a villager building the dock with the scout. But nothing yet. Transport ship for orange is moving about. Still scouting the home island. this is the potential here. So will it be seen in time by either player? It was seen, however, didn't get those quick balls down, blocking, and the villager dies. So, you know, a four-handed swordsman. We're looking at a couple of real tryhards here, which is exactly the way you need to play it in a tournament setting. So I don't mean that in a negative. You have to do everything in your power to win these games, and sniping a villager kill like that is huge. That is huge to start the game. And now we're back on the home island. So a negative, of course, is that you're on lower hit points with that scout. However, 100% worth it. If we look at the scouting here for green, if I just get my keys right, I guess, you know, we have a lot of scouting left to do. But he's 100% fine. They're fine. Funnily enough, they're now on the same island again. But we are using the Italian bonus of cheaper fishing ships. But we're relatively equal there. Double dock though. And we're real paranoid right now. Hoping that that scout is not lurking. Even if it was, even without loom, you probably could still take scout in that scenario. So, you know, four-handed swordsmen are living rent-free in coordinated collapses mines right now. And four-handed swordsmen are gonna get up just a little bit earlier to feudal. We have a really good woodline here. You know, Pacific Islands is a bit of a crapshoot with how good the woodlines are. That is quite efficient. This is also quite efficient. I like that woodline placement. But you know, sometimes, you know, a noob like me would probably put a wood camp like on this woodline with 8 trees, which would be pretty terrible. So there goes feudal age. We're going galleys with Vikings, and of course you're going to go get galleys with Vikings because you cannot produce fire ships, if I recall correctly. Yes. We're also going to go galleys and Italians, so no fire ships here, and that's probably the correct choice on a map like Pacific Islands. Blacksmith coming out, we're going to probably see fletching. There we go. Neither player switching islands yet. I will be expecting that at some point. There we go. Four-handed swordsman going on to deer and berries, which is an underrated part of this map. Got a lot of deer, a lot of food on these islands, and we have the first engagements. Fletchings come through for four-handed swordsman. Another dock going to go down. Gonna have to watch this, and you know that hit does land. 4 galleys coming out. So, oh, that was unfortunate passing, or I'm not sure what happened there. And Handed Swordsman getting the better of this engagement. I think a little more patience would be beneficial here. Obviously, with the dual tournament setting, you've got somebody microing these ships 24/7, I would say. And again, you've got to be real careful here. Good dodging, good dodging. Oh, a ship was sunk though. And, you know, these battles can really start to snowball. But what I'm concerned about in terms of coordinated collapse, there is a Navy battle going on, and one that coordinated collapse might not win. And they just managed not to get that kill. So 2 really low boats right now. So focus is not there. Look at how many low boats are there. So finally kills 2. 3. So that's a really good engagement there for coordinated collapse. And that's another one. So tide is starting to turn. This weak boat with 3 hit points is backing off. Even got some villages on the island now. Same island. Which is promising. And we are 9 boats. 11 boats here actually for coordinated collapse. You know, sometimes the micro's there, sometimes it's not. You know, the targeting of specific boats sometimes is not there. But we're going for a barracks. So these are just not collecting resources, but thinking more offensively. And we are going to start attacking dairy villages with villages. Interesting strategy. I haven't quite seen that yet. Building the barracks and then not necessarily building any units. And, you know, this is 9 villages not collecting resources. I don't know if this is the most effective use of resources. We only have 4 on food. 2 on food. So we are nowhere near Castle Age. Meanwhile, Handed Swordsman are very close to Castle Age. You know, their economy back here is starting to fly. There's no farms. Okay? There's no farms back here. We're building a mill, so now we're thinking of food. I can only assume that water will be lost eventually, even if there is an advantage right now, because as soon as War Galley comes in, despite numbers disadvantage, War Galley is tough to contend with. So this is a really interesting strategy. I just don't know if it's going to pan out. We're already up to quite high levels of idle TC time because of the lack of focus on wood, on food. I'm even getting wheelbarrow right now, so I do disagree with the strategy. And I love that the villagers just moved island. You know, it's no big deal for Handed Swordsman. And I just don't know why no farms have been placed, you know. I guess we're thinking of building more and more fishing boats, and you know, there is 7, that's quite a lot on this map. But there isn't that many fish. And actually we've missed. Look at that, there's a perfect fish dot placement there. We're looking at the delicacies, looking at boxed turtles when we could be having a lot of Dorados, whatever that might mean, whatever the fish that is, I'm not sure. Longboats come out, so now this is gonna be struggle town, especially when Bodkin comes in, especially when we get ballistics eventually. Arrow's not hitting, but I just don't think coordinated collapse can engage at all against longboats. Love this, town centre coming down. You've kind of got the advantage on the channel. More longboats, so we're up to 6. The scout just chipping away at this mill. He might be here through feudal into castle into imperial, just chipping down that mill. He's got his long life's work ahead of him there. And yeah, I might just get maximum value out of this as 4-handed swordsman, because we know we're going into longboats. We know that we're not necessarily upgrading to war galley. Here come the longboats, and that's gonna be a problem. And if they engage at all on this, you know, kill this transport. War galleys coming in for coordinated collapse. Fishing boats retreating to the side. There is a juicy stack of Dorado back here for them. But on land, we've got the bigger island for coordinated collapse. So in the long run, that could be nice. However, they are 10 eco down. They're on this wood line. It's a very small wood line back here. The fishing ship's not in use. Now remember, we've got 2 players. 2 players per team, micro in this. And this has been forgotten about, so our attention is divided elsewhere. And we're thinking about getting our galley numbers up. We do have 15 total. We've got 15 longboats total. So it is going to be relatively equal in boats. However, oh, that's a big hit. That was a big hit. However, not big enough. Got to be careful with the grouping. Demos, so obviously an issue. It can obviously be taken out quite easily by longboats. If it is noticed, then you're more likely to notice in this setting because you have the 2 players. Good micro into the boats. You obviously want to be doing close range stuff with longboats so that you've got the accuracy. Making sure the fires don't get near. And this is very much in favour of 4-handed swordsman, I believe. But I might want to see ballistics at some point. Good micro for these last couple of boats. So whoever's microing this is doing a really good job, and I think you kind of just need to chase this, because you can definitely take these boats out eventually. Yeah, I like this. And, you know, just get up close, I reckon. And we have villages. We have the villages. And we are thinking of a castle. And what can coordinated collapse possibly do about this? Nothing. They can build their own castle. Okay. That is obviously a good response. We do have a head start. We have more villages over here though. It is around about equal. Coordinated collapse is going to get theirs up first. Even going to go attack villages with villages. Castle still goes up. We're going to run away now. Boat was targeted briefly. Are we going to leave anybody behind? No. He's left to his death. We're going to need murder holes. We would definitely need murder holes, which we are going to get. I love that for them. I would have committed to this more. You know, you can go around the side and not be an issue. I haven't even focused about the islands. But pretty standard stuff, nothing much happening on those islands. We have demolition ships in this dock, so there's 2 of them. We have to be careful not to get taken by surprise. And they are on it, which you love to see. More demo ships. You know, I think these demo ships have been a real waste. It's a lot of resources for no payoff. I don't think there's any chance we're going to get back on water. This is obviously the long-term concern. And we're building petards. Petards, guys. This castle is going to go down, and when the castle goes down, the berserkers can come out. We're thinking a different strategy here for coordinated collapse. We are thinking rams. Remember, we do have longships that can range, and we do have murder holes. So that strategy does not pay off. Economy flying behind on this island right now. And we're just waiting for the petards to come out. Imperial Age is coming through for coordinated collapse, so they're thinking tribs as well. It's not a bad shout. However, this castle is not going to be there when they can produce trebs. And here come the petards. Unfortunately, that was not well executed though. So maybe they can actually hold on here. You know, they needed to come out right here underneath the castle. I think about 4 of those petards didn't land their shots. This ram, another ram going to go down, but it has done a bit of damage. We've actually given coordinated collapse, as another Viking petard goes down, but we've given coordinated collapse the answer that it needs. It's now going to build its own petards to take down this castle. So this has been lost. This has been lost, certainly. Another petard goes down, so this is not going to do the trick. And couple of pushes, another petard goes down, another couple of hits with this ram, and it's gonna be gone. There we go. Imperial is coming out. Now we can focus on some of these islands. Someone's been attacked by a tiger somewhere. I have no idea where. But we are preventing a reboom on water. I think that knight just died to a tiger. Can we just go back to that just for a second? As we just go back, I want to see what this was all about. Here we go, night is coming through, killing villagers. This tiger, you know, tigers are orange, and coordinated collapse is the orange team. So maybe the tiger was on their team. But we are rebooming on docks. I can't quite see what happened to all of their ships. However, we do have 18 longboats. Here's some of them here. Again, these fishing boats back here haven't done anything for quite some time. Fast fire ship is gonna do work, certainly. But here comes we've got a couple, well, 3 transport ships here. We've got 5 in total. They're around the map. A lot of transporting happening. And we might be thinking of another castle. You know, that night before had to be transported over here. And we are going to think about putting a castle down so that we've got a foothold on the island. We've got some gold back here, some wood back here. I think that's a good idea. We have knights that will come over. Fast fire ship's been a great addition. We might need to think about demos at some point for Handed Swordsman. Militia have come over. Okay. Interesting. Another panic castle. 50 villagers putting down that castle. Whole economy diverted over here to put that down. Putting down a siege workshop. Don't have the wood for a mining camp yet, so gonna buy some of that wood. And that should be coming down shortly. As we are still microing. We're on ballistics now as well. That should help with actually hitting these ships. Berserk's coming down. Trebs. We do have Trebs for the Italian players. Bracer. Bowsaw, elite longbow. Okay, so thinking Berserker there, but of course we do have the upgrade for longboat as well. This castle's gonna need to be defended at some point. But I have all the faith in the world for Handed Swordsman just because of how much more resources they've collected. And it would seem that they have a lot more in the bank than coordinated collapse. Trebs are going to fire upon Trebs. It'd be good if we had some more Trebs coming through, of course. Capped ram being researched, and we're going to go for some rams of our own. Still attacking villages at home. Again, I think this castle's gonna go down eventually, and we saw militia before, and now we've got unupgraded archers. So we are not preferencing upgrades right now. Just as like we are not preferencing armor upgrades on our units for Handed Swordsman. But we're going to see another castle, and that's going to be devastating. We're not repairing this treb, and that treb could go down there. So I didn't think I would see it, but we've actually won treb war. These archers could do work against these villagers. Have seen one go down already. Has to run away from one berserker. Imagine if that was a crossbow. If there's a crossbow, this castle does not go up. Capped ram coming through here on the buildings. And now I think we might see this game start to spiral. Trebs aiming for this castle now, so this might need to be repaired. I'm really interested in walls here for Handed Swordsman. And these rams obviously trying to get around these walls for the trip. And they're going to make quick work of it. This castle has no chance of being maintained with capped rams right there. And the berserkers are going to pop out and kill those villagers. So, yep, I think it's starting to unravel. We still have longboats here on that coast. We have about 37 villagers who are going to be in no man's land. The reboom on water is not even really that important anymore, because we have both islands. So even if you've won water, it doesn't matter. Rams go down, but we have trebs, we have berserkers, and Coordinated Cuts has basically no army, apart from a treb who has come around the back, fire upon that castle. But, you know, what are they going to do? And there's the GG. So that was a solid game from Handed Swordsman. That was wonderful. Good stuff there. But I think, you know, I think that was a solid. Obviously, Handed Swordsman are very good players. But I didn't think that was terrible from Coordinated Collapse. I think that was a good effort. You know, delaying this castle here. I think they were pretty even on water for the start of the game. You know, knowing to reboom on water. Maybe a few misplays here and there on this island. You know, they could have perhaps played that a little differently. But I thought that was a pretty good showing by both teams. Alright, we are here game 2, semi-finals, bracket 3. We are on Copenhagen. In my opinion, best map of the tournament. Seen some really good games played on this map. And we are 1-0 up for Handed Swordsman. And they are on the Goths. And we will return to that pick in a moment. We are on the Chinese for Coordinated Collapse. Haven't seen the Chinese in a while. I don't know why that is. However, obviously, historically a very strong civilization. Not quite sure why we haven't seen them as much as in the past. However, they obviously have a difficult start to manage. That starts a little bit different on Copenhagen, because you start with a few more villages. Dual Domination, you've got 2 players to manage those villages, so your start can be a lot cleaner. So I think I like the pick. I like the pick here for Coordinated Collapse. We have seen the Goss play as being played on this map, where we saw a transport ship with Huskars run into the base of the opposing player and cause absolute devastation. That was one of the highlights of the tournament so far, I would say. One of the stand-up games. And that was played... I'm trying to think who played that game, but I have forgotten. However, also something to consider is this is a regicide game. So you have your king. If your king dies, your game is over. Yeah, so Copenhagen, great map. You've got the water. It's almost like a closed hybrid map. We're going for double dock on both players. 4 Handed Swordsman are going to be first up to feudal though, so we're going to see fires come out from them very quickly. The galleys again, actually. So I think this map lends itself to fires better. You know, you got less micro potential. You can cut people off with fires. Would be my only thing there. Of course, down the bottom of the map as well, you know, if we get into a late game situation, we do have more fish back here. Got 1,350, as well as 3 relics. It's not insignificant. 4 Handed Swordsman is already in feudal, so we're going to get a few hits here on the Dark Age Scout, and that Scout is going to speed up. And maybe lure green under the castle. Does actually. So that's unfortunate. And if we look at the scouting, they've scouted most of the map already. So not as big a loss as could be. Fire galleys coming up, Coordinated Collapse. I like that from them. Regardless, these fishing ships might be doomed. Might be able to save a couple. And they're saved, as we're going to repair some of these fishing ships. I really don't like the galley play. I just don't think it lends itself well to this map. You know, 2 fires against 4 galleys. I would prefer the 5 galleys in this situation. And we're still going with galleys. It's a huge investment. I guess the logic is you have enough actions per minute to micro this, which is fair enough, but you know, once we get to enough 5 galleys, it might not even matter. You could chase them to the end of the earth and it wouldn't matter. But good micro certainly. And sometimes I have a hard time believing the elo of these players. You never know with a tournament setting what the real elos actually are, but that's incredible micro. I guess it's not that hard to do, but even so. I guess I'm hyper aware of that because I should be the same elo as these players. Well, I am the same elo as these players, and I should be as skillful, and maybe I'm just a hater, maybe I'm jealous of the skill these players possess. But when you look at it, this fire is not even hitting at all on these ships, which is quite funny. Because with this map, I mean, if you get in the back here though, then the F. Like, if you loop around and then you can chase them to the end and it doesn't matter at that point. And that's exactly what they're doing. I love this from them. Love this from them. So they are thinking of that. And you know, they do put themselves in awkward positions here if you're four-handed swordsman. I guess they're looking for damage. And they're not going to find it. Their fishing ships are safe behind us. But it's only 4 fishing ships to 2. As we've had a panic residential development happen down here. And I do have to wonder, you know, like for dual domination, where you get to hyper focus on one particular area. Let's say that one player is purely focusing on water, so your attention is on this for, let's say, 80% of the game. You know, that's fine, I guess, but is it the most enjoyable experience for players? I guess it's fine if you want to win. Then you'll do what you need to do to win. But the wheels are actually falling off here for coordinated collapse with the fires, so it's very frustrating for them, I can imagine. But I do struggle to figure out what exactly the gain is here. And instead of going to the corner, actually, I would have, again, tried to loop that around so that you can get in behind here. But now they're stuck in this corner and they're sitting ducks. Could have produced a few demos as well, I suppose. But now this fishing area is all four-handed swordsmen and open for transport ship shenanigans. Again, we have seen this strategy before. You know, maybe this is a stolen strategy, or maybe it's a well-established strategy map, I'm not sure. But I think we're going to see Huskarls as soon as we get to Castle Age. And then from there it might be a quick game. But when you see Goths, you might want to wall up. Because if you can wall that, what can they do? What can they do? Or get to a faster Castle Age, right? Like if you get to a faster Castle Age and get knights out, then you know what are Huskarls really going to do to you? Not much at all. Yeah, get knights out in a couple of 2 canoes. That could be pretty nice. Or you just relocate your entire economy somewhere nice, like down here. Obviously very disruptive, but it's sometimes it's the thing to do. And there we go. We are in Castle. We're going for anarchy already, and we're producing barracks. So that can only mean one thing. That can only mean Huskarls. There's going to be Huskarl spam. And there we go, there's Huskarls. From 2 barracks. Do we have a transport ship? Not yet, but I can only assume that we will get one pretty quick. This has been recognized though. Walls are going up. House walls. I just want to know what the military response will be. Because that I am unsure of. And this is a lot of wood to commit. Not gonna lie. Monks, actually. Monks is a great shout. Because if you can convert some of these Huskarls, you can turn the tides a bit. They will be trapped on the other side of this wall though. Fire Lancers. Ah, I didn't think of Fire Lancers. And actually, I'm scared now about this replay. Please, Fire Lancers, work. Do not want this game to end in a bugged replay. Here's the Huskarl crew. Just chilling. They're waiting. I don't think you need to wait, because I think the enemy knows this is coming. Thinking of walls behind this as well. So this is a lot of resources. Here we go. Here's the Fire Lancer. Looks like they're gonna be okay with the replay. But we're going to need siege of some... Oh, we've got petards. So we're going petards to break through the walls. We're going to have to contend with the army as well, though. There are towers and such around, so also got to be careful of that. We're booming on water down here. Got a TC here coming up. Got a TC here already. Stables, I think, is a good idea. And the military count is really blowing out. Really blowing out. Two petards, is that enough? Even if it isn't, are these petards gonna... Oh, nearly bit in the gate. We're gonna have to get this wall here. And they're through. So that wall did not hold for very long at all. This is not going to go down. Huskarls are red. Chainmail is nearly coming through. And that's going to make it even more difficult to deal with. So this is the second time we've seen this strategy, and this is the second time we're going to see it work, because this is going to work. Almost certainly. And we might be let through the gate again. We are. Oh! So close to letting that gate close. And even if this doesn't work, this is a lot of distraction, and again, make sure you get through that gate, because you can chase these villages and cause a lot of distraction. We have a Chinese Huskarl, Traitor, and I don't know where these villagers are going to put a wood camp down here, but they're going to be chased by two Huskarls still, and these Huskarls know where to go. And we're streaming in Huskarls with Anarchy, and there's no way to stop this stream of units. Fire Lancers might have been able to do the trick if more were produced. I doubt it. I think it had to be knights. And Chinese knights aren't terrible. If I look at their tech tree. Yeah, very serviceable actually. Very serviceable. So Chinese knights might have been the play there. Especially knowing that, you know, turn around and fight this. You can take this out, can't you? I mean, where are you running to? I guess you're running to save the castle. We're going to destroy a wall or something. And, you know, the Great Migration begins again. As you're being marauded by the enemy. I mean, could have just stayed there, I guess, but obviously you have so much pierce armor that they can sit under town centers. And these villagers have been sitting inside this town center for quite some time, I think. They've been clicked to repair the town center, and they've only just run into the arms of more Huskars. So they've found more enemies. They're in greater danger now than if they just stayed home, possibly. But more knights needed to be produced. I guess you don't have the economy when your units are running north, south, north, south. You know, they're getting their cardio in, that's for sure. And now, these villagers back home who thought they were safe are now thinking, why did you bring the enemy back to the gates? We thought we were fine. No. They are not. Bodkin has come in, so that's going to help, but of course, it is Huskars, so how much can it actually help? And they're on their way north again. Here they come. Chukanus are underrated against Huskars because of the multiple arrows. So that works. Maybe could have seen greater numbers from the get-go. We're now repairing this gate. The coordinated collapse are on the back foot for this entire game. And if you're in the back foot, that means back home, the enemy are just sitting back, booming, unchallenged. And they're going up to Imperial. Obviously nothing to blame here from coordinated collapse other than stopping the initial push would have prevented all of this. Hindsight 2020, of course. But when you're put in this situation, it's very hard to get yourself out of this situation, especially in response to everything that has happened. But, you know, we do have Chukanu now. So the Goth player probably needs to think what to do next. I think they're thinking we'll get to Imperial, we'll get our upgrades, and then we'll go for whatever the next push is. We're at double the enemy's villager count. So, you know, realistically, what can coordinated collapse do? They were thinking of getting these relics. Obviously, harder to do when you have enemies at your gates. But trapped on this castle once they come through, you know, then it's just going to be a spiral from there. Huskars are actually through this gate as well. So rams can come through. We've got more barracks coming through. We've got 52 on food, 21 on gold. Just think how many Huskars it can actually produce. And we're not quite sure what we're doing with unit composition. We've got 8 Chukanu, but we're going into cab armor. Think you needed to make a choice. Obviously, either option is pretty decent against Huskars. But if you have only small numbers of both, that's going to be an issue. And Chukanu numbers are down. Basically got no knights left other than these two. And we have another 18 Huskars on the way. We're thinking of producing that gate again. But Handed Swordsman does recognize that, and they prevent that from happening. It's just carnage. Absolute carnage. Fortified walls are not going to help you. Because if you don't have walls, they cannot be fortified. And the Great Migration begins. Another Great Migration. Just think of the cardio these people are putting in. They're very fit, but they're also very dead. And you know what? They're like, you know what? You guys can live. We've got better things to do than killing more villagers. I don't even know. Well, the king somehow made it back here. The king was down here. King's back here. And Chukanu didn't work. Knights didn't work. So we're thinking rocket carts. I think that's a terrible idea because Huskars are also very fast. So they can kind of catch up to rocket carts pretty easily. And we also have trebs on this castle. Huskars down the bottom. And the GG is called. 123 Huskars. So, very well executed strategy there. They knew what they wanted to do from the get-go. We're seeing Goss win twice on this map now. So, at this point, you have to assume that Goss are a pretty good meta pick, at least in this tournament, at least at this skill level, for this map. So definitely something to look out for in future games. And definitely something to look out for if you are the players playing in any upcoming semi-finals or finals matches. You know, maybe it's even a ban. You know, can you put his respect on it enough to ban it? I'm not sure I'd go that far. Because I think there is decent counters. Like, say that you were Franks or something, right? Your Cav can obliterate what the Goss can put out, in my opinion. Although I'm not a Frank player. But I think there's counters to this. If you don't let it spiral like this, I think you're good. It just really spiraled out of control. So game 3, we have Handed Swordsman on Hindustanis, one of my favourite civs. I love this civ. Just because A, it's really strong, and B, it counters everything. What's there not to love? Basically good on any map with that regard, and especially cheaper villages. So everything you want in Hindustanis, you would want on any kind of map. I love them. I love that civ a lot. Armenians, on the other hand, they're an amazing water civ. And I was expecting them on Pacific Islands, although Italians are obviously great on that map too. But if you're going to go Armenians, you're either A, thinking the mule cart is really powerful, and I think with the mule cart you can pick up fish. So that might be the rationale for the mule cart. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I know you can pick up hunt with mule carts. So I can only assume the same as for fish, but I could be 100% wrong. Because I've never seen it. Somebody else went Armenians in one of the other games, I didn't see a mule cart. But here is the mule cart in this little patch of wood and fish. Very interesting. I did notice the loom come out as this villager walked out, and that's because their villager got picked off in game 1, their dock villager. Maybe they were scared of that happening again. But yeah, I'm lingering on the Armenian pick because it could be a long swordsman play, I think. I've seen that a lot. Do I think it's powerful? Yes. Do I think it's overrated? Also, yes. So we'll just have to see how that goes. But then again, we might not see the long-handed swordsman at all. Now, Hindustanis, other than the cheaper villages, don't have that good at eco bonuses. You know, I saw Dravidians on this map, and they've got fishermen that have greater carrying capacity, I think is the bonus, so they have a fish bonus of sorts. But regardless, it's such a good set. We are going to go for the mill. So I could be wrong about the mule cart being able to pick up fish. But I will keep an eye out for that regardless. You know, sometimes you need a mill anyway. So maybe this is the mill and they'll go to mule cart to something else. I'm not sure. We'll see. But we're really focusing on this middle here for when they collapse. Pushing deer, we love to see. I'm not seeing any deer left on this side of the map, so actually I'm seeing some dead deer. I didn't get any hits on that scout, so it is still an even scout battle. And I called 4-handed swordsman in game 1, tryhards. I did say that in the most complimentary way possible. But the tryhard potential in a scout war, like a 50-50 scout war, there is potential for some outplays. We have a barracks. Got a barracks in response. This villager is not going to die. It's actually going to turn around and start attacking. Because we know a scout is available and coming. I think we're expecting a militia to come out. Yes, we are. This could result in a village death. Unlikely, I would say. There is still a gap there. This village is going to go home. We have 3 militia. Scout nearly goes down. We're bringing more villages. That militia goes down. Might need to build this wall. We're just chilling. We're being chilling. And we decide to throw the scout away. We're only building militia now, only after getting to feudal. So that timing definitely could have been better. We're going into mid-at-arms. So what's interesting about this is it's the Armenian player. It's the Armenian Civ that likes to do this strategy. However, we're Hindustanis and we're almost outplaying the Armenians at their own game. And they're now men-at-arms, much harder to kill. Our villages are separated. But we're down to 1 men-at-arms. And these militia are just chilling in the barracks, so they could have obviously been active during this time. They could have been moving towards the enemy. And they're still chilling. As we go up to longsword. So we're thinking of getting up to longswordsman first. But we know the Armenian game, right? Like, this is almost like Magyar's, right? you know if you're up against Magyars, you're gonna see a Scout Rush, right? If you're playing Armenians not on a water map, you know that you're gonna see a Swordsman run. So the predictability is an issue, I would say. And it was forcing the archery skirmisher response. And you know, in combination, this could work quite well. So I'm not saying that it is a foregone conclusion yet. But if you can get the unit combination right, it could actually look quite good. However, we are housed. It's a highly stressful situation. You know, your tournament life is on the line. It's 2-0. So this is where the pressure comes. Certainly. But I just don't know about Armenians on this map. I've seen Armenians on this map. And I don't get it, I guess. I mean, you know, maybe even Coordinated Collapse were the ones that played Armenians. Again, my memory is terrible. It could very well be that they were the ones that picked Armenians, and they're comfortable with the civ on this map. As we have an immediate house. That's very funny. I can't remember if we saw arson come through. But obviously more skirmishes are needed to support this. And we have only one and only one more coming. So this breakthrough is not going to happen. There's going to have to be a switch in strategy here. Or potentially doubling down on this strategy, in which case we need more skirmishes. Looks like we're doubling down. Because we're going into armor. We're staying in feudal. However, the enemy is going up castle. We have 8 archers for 4 Handed Swordsman already. That's going to be a crossbowman. And they're only going to be up against a couple of skirms. We're going fletching as well. I don't know. If you see this kind of wall in, and we're even reinforcing this, so there's no way in back here. And this is going to be stone. There is absolutely no way that they're going to be allowed into this base. And Hindustani cheaper villages behind in Castle Age. I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this for Coordinated Collapse. Can obviously get hits on the archers, that's fine. But again, the numbers aren't there, first of all, so is it even a good trade? You're seeing now, okay, if you're in Coordinated Collapse position, you've seen now that the enemy's in castle. I think your heart probably drops. Because you were thinking of an all-in, Armenian swordsman all-in with supported by skirms, and you know they're almost inviting the enemy into the gates, almost as a trap. So even skirms against crossbow, you know, it's going to be tough to counter. So they're finally in, but there's only 2 swordsmen, and you know. There's a little breakup spot here to deal with this. You don't need the whole army to deal with that. Just a couple. And now archers can go forward. there's a flimsy palisade here, and that can go down pretty quick. When that goes down, this will be exposed. Yes, you can build a mill. Also build a tower. But this is going to have to be built pretty quick. Maybe not quick enough. I think you might need more villagers on this. I think he realizes those skirms go down. I don't know if the tower's going to go up. He definitely needed more villagers there. Escaping from this little alcove, he's going to rush this tower down. And that's going to be a disaster. I mean, he will get it down eventually, yes. He didn't lose as many villagers as I thought he would. But now you're going to be thinking, if you're four-handed swordsman, about a siege workshop of some kind, perhaps. We've been on 2 TCs for a while. We've got 1 TC for Coordinated Collapse and 2-handed swordsman and chainmail armor coming out. They are doubling down. This is a double down. It's a triple down. It's a quadruple down. So they're really throwing a Hail Mary here, and you've seen the number of archers on the floor. Archers directly counter infantry. So I know you've got the mega now to counter the archers, and then you can think about what you want to do with the 2-handed swordsman, which are somewhere up here, apparently. Where are we? Oh, there's one here. A couple there. They must be the ones from before. 2-handed swordsman actually killing some of those archers. But if this archer number gets back here, oh my god. There's gonna be carnage. They can't run home. Mangonel's too late. Could get a big shot though. No, noticed. So this group of crossbows actually killed 18 villagers. Actually, not 18 villagers. 18 units. They've killed 10 villagers. Perhaps. Well, archers in general. I mean, about the 4-handed swordsmen have killed 10 villagers. Most of them with these archers. And there is another. 3rd TC at the back. We're still on 1 TC for Coordinated Collapse. That does not bode well. We're over 20 villages ahead. Not a good position to be in. They're going for a battering ram. So we want to get in behind with 7 2-handed swordsmen. With arson, with gamson, with forging. I get it. I do get it. However, we're producing from 1 barracks. Good shots. So this is the positive to come out of this, you know. We now have a lot of low archers, and they're going to all group up, and if there was not an escape passage there, they would have completely been flattened. You know, even if this battering ram gets through, and it will, so what? You know, what now? You're up against archers, and you'll soon be up against the castle. They were thinking stables there for a second. you know, you could just go camels into this regardless, and from my noob opinion, that would probably still work out fine, just like a knight against two-handed swordsman, but I think you just stick with the archers. And now we're safe at home, we're going to think about going around the back with more of our archers. And like I said, we doubled down on two-handed swordsman, and again, it hasn't paid off. So I think we might be in it for the memes at this point. Or I guess you're so far gone, you have to commit. But this group of archers can obviously do a lot of damage. They can take out something like a scorpion. Archers are away now, so, you know, this is definitely more credible. However, we still have a lot of production back home. You can just produce a bunch of units to deal with it. It's all good. We're even going to micro one archer against a scorpion. Who wins? Take your bets. No, we're not going to micro that. Oh, big shot. Big shot. But we are going to force responses from this, you know. Now, all of this economy, if you can sit underneath that tower, for instance. Hang on a second, we're through the walls? And now we're going to focus on a different wall? We're going to sit underneath this tower and, you know, what can you do? We're through. We are through. I think the mangonel, there's a bit of a panic. Does get some decent damage though. So you just have to weather the storm here. I mean, the red collected is also pretty large. We don't have like a castle column. You know, if you could get a castle drop in addition to this, that could be nice. Gulams are gonna try and take out rams. Two-handed swordsmen pop out. So this is gonna work to some extent. And when I say some extent, I mean it's probably going to have a pretty short lifespan of an attack, because I don't know what the follow-up is. I think you just run with villagers. Just lure this under the castle. Take out the units. Gulams take out the rams. And then this will eventually stall. This hasn't been seen though, so villager numbers are going to come down. Champion coming. Again, not what I would be using for resources. Has forced archers to come back. No ballistics on these archers, so it is harder to hit these units. All those villagers went down. I'm gonna pop out of the rams, but again, this is a lot of resources to lose. Not good focusing here. You know, micro should be better. Yeah, micro not great, but it doesn't matter. And this wall's gonna go up. This is a fortified wall as well. And this economy can easily, you know, this economy's been taken out somewhat. How many villager kills have there been? 30? You know, that's quite a lot. However, we have 1, 2, 3, gonna be 4 TCs once this one goes up again. You still have the villager lead by about 40. You've got mangonels around the side here, which, you know, they're good. They're a good defensive measure. However, now the push is on the front. And the push is going to come thick and fast. And Hindustani Camel Archer, not Camel Archer, Cav Archer, highly underrated. Highly underrated. You get Heavy Cav Archer. I thought you had Parthian Tactics actually, so maybe that's been nerfed at something. But they've run through and now they're killing villagers. So what already is a villager discrepancy has only increased. Those mangonel shots don't hit. Grazes them there for a bit. You're gonna have to keep paying attention to this. You can take these out. That's their last chance of descent. Once we get ballistics now, that's gonna be tough. With all the things Hindustanis have down right now. Power goes down. Krebs can slide on through. This is a decent Cav Archer number. We do have the fortified church, so it's going to be harder to, you know, snipe villages. Cheeky TC down here though. But yeah, the villager numbers are just, you know, out of control. I think we're trying to go for a castle in the long term. That's not going to happen. Heavy Cav Archer is there now. I don't know if he had that before, but they definitely Heavy Cav Archer now. Oh, Hussar's going to come through. What can't Hindustanis do? They can literally do everything. They have no weaknesses. They get Hussar. That's crazy. The only thing they don't get is the last infantry armor, but you don't really need that in the Gulag. Once this fortified church goes down, you know these archers are definitely in danger. Good dodging. You're going to put the skills of these archers to the test. I don't think it's going to work out particularly well. Cav Archer are the main problem now. Villager count is still double, 120 to 50. That archer number is kaput. I think if you produce some Gulag, actually Hussars will be absolutely fine to take out Siege. You know, don't even risk it if you're the Cav Archers. Don't risk it. You don't need to. This wasn't found, but they've been selling stones, so there's absolutely no chance for a castle. And again, this is just unnecessary hits, I would say, on this Cav Archer mass. I think it doesn't really matter what you do at this point. You're going to be Hussar rated like crazy. Hussars are on the back TC. That's resources not collected. And again, there's no chance for counter raids, which is the main problem. That's why you need to turn this game around. The army numbers are out of control. You know, how many scorpions is that? 6 scorpions? It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter, even under a TC. They've got no opportunity to produce anymore, so even if you throw some units away trying to take them out, progress towards taking them out is all that matters, no matter how many resources you throw at it. Only 3 left, more hussars coming, and there's the GG. Good luck in the finals, and they are going to be a force to be reckoned with, I would say. The old 4-handed swordsman. But look at that economy behind. It's absolutely pumping. We've got more resources at the back. Unstoppable push at the front. Just very well played. Again, Hindustanis are crazy. And Armenians on this map, they're not so crazy, I would say. I like the preset strategy though. I think it's very predictable. You know, those 4-handed swordsmen saw it from a mile away. So it was never going to work, in my opinion. Oh, solo villager with her mule. Yeah, just don't think it was going to work. But you could say the same with the Goth strategy on Copenhagen, right? You can see that strategy coming from a mile away to some extent, and yet you still can't stop it. But that's the difference. I think, you know, if executed well, you can still pull out the victory, whereas if you are prepared for the Armenian strategy, there's just no way.